UltraCycling magazine show.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the UltraCycling magazine show, the show about all things ultracycling, bicycling, and just good stuff all together. Hey Lee, how are you doing? I'm finally back here with you.
Hey, yeah, I was about ready to cut your pay, Jim.
I know. I probably owe you money now.
Yeah, probably so. You do owe me 2 signs,
Yes, I've got them right here, so we'll do that at Calvin's.
and I owe you some coffee cups.
And I've got a coffee cup from, I can't think of somebody's name. I can't think right now. I'm tired. Sorry.
Okay, well, we're glad to have you with us, Jim.
Yes, thank
And
you.
we're glad to have all of you with us, and we're glad
Yes.
that we are sponsored and supported. Well, I guess I should say it this way. The reason for us being here are the people who run the Race Across America time stations here in Ohio, 41 in Oxford, 42 in Blanchester, and 43 in Chillicothe. And we want to also mention Mike Minium, the sign man, puts all those signs along the road. They make a wonderful way to collect autographs. They are on trophy walls around the world, literally so. And you can get a sign at any of our time stations, $10 for the sign. And that gives you a sign to take with you as a souvenir, collect autographs, and also puts one on the road for Mike. He does that out of his own pocket. So we're always glad to support Mike.
Definitely, sir.
And, well, I guess I'm doing double duty here a little bit. We want to make sure that all of you follow us here on.
Hang on. Let me get back to that. Sorry. I'm not with it tonight. There we go.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I'm out of practice. Sorry.
Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. That helps the show grow, which helps people learn more about ultracycling. And when you subscribe on YouTube, be sure to stop that.
I didn't do that.
I thought we had that bell ringer straightened out.
Evidently not, sir. Yeah, and also for all of you out there watching, please post your comments or your questions for our guest tonight. And if you don't have either of those, just let us know you're out there and where you're watching from.
Where you're at. Yep.
Yes, definitely.
And, well, tell us about Race Across the East.
Well, we had a semi-productive Monday. Rick and Jeff were out. They were headed towards the new finish, Atlantic City, and we met in Blanchester and went over quite a bit of stuff and how we're going to have the layout and when I'm going to set up and have everything ready. So as it looks right now, we'll be all set up Sunday night, and we'll have the registration going on Monday and Tuesday for the start of the race on Wednesday morning. So the one thing I do want to ask everybody, if anybody wants to volunteer for the Race Across the East start, I'm in desperate need of some good volunteers, as well as any of our time stations. So if you happen to want to volunteer, just hit me at jim@raceacrossamerica.org. Shoot me an email and I'll get right back with you.
Okay, so let's help Jim out there. This is a new thing, and we hope it goes very well. I'm happy to report that Calvin's Challenge is now up to 42 riders. I think that's pretty good for having been started so late with registration.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very happy to have someone. I was just tickled to death to see this name pop up, Jim, on the roster.
Yes, definitely.
Hadn't talked with this woman in a long time. My good friend Pascal.
All right, let me see if I can find her real quick.
Hello, everybody. I'm Pascal Lercanger, live in Powell, Ohio, and I am super excited to join Calvin's again. Calvin's Challenge. I put the 25-year anniversary shirt on from many years ago. And the last time I did it, I think I won the overall with Larry Usland, who's organizing the event. So for the people that hear this from the past, I hope you will come and join this huge party on May 18th, Saturday, May 18th, starting at 7 a.m. Bring your coolers, your family, and everybody. And yeah, it's never windy. Remember, there's never wind and it's always sunny at Calvin's.
That is awesome, Lee.
The only problem, Pascal lies a lot.
There you go. It never rains in Ohio at Ram time or Calvin's Challenge time or any race time, huh?
Cause or anything else.
There you go. And I think we'll be out there at least in Friday night at the registration and doing a little bit of coverage if we can't ride on Saturday.
Yeah,
So
we'll try to be there and have a presence there somehow.
definitely.
And I was going to say, Pascal is every bit as nice a person as she appeared to be here on that thing. I was just so glad to. I had a nice little chat with her when we recorded that video.
Gotcha. Greg has a question real quick. Is this being recorded so people can watch your review again later? Lee, you want to answer that one?
It is. You can watch it on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. It'll be at the same location. You'll find it right where the link is there, and it's there for all eternity, I think.
There you. As long as YouTube's around, right?
Yeah. They say once on the internet, always. So that's good. Well, that's
There
true.
you go.
Well, we had a nice report from Coal Country Bay from Georgie Stoichev. It's on the website, ucm.bike. It'll be right below this video, actually. You can see it about 5-6 minutes. Georgie did a nice review.
Yes.
It turned out to be as tough as Joe warned us about, I think.
There you go. I think it surprised a lot of people, but it was a very good race.
A lot of people are already, I know at least one person is asking how they sign up for next year.
There you go.
I hope that becomes the big thing that Joe wants it to be, and certainly it's good to have some really good ultracycling events.
Definitely. In Ohio.
In Ohio.
Yes.
Next week, we're going to have people from the Great American Wheel Race. And I think I know who everybody's going to be on there, but I haven't nailed it. There'll be somebody here.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have the last people nailed down for sure. The Great American Wheel Race is a self-supported race from the Space Needle in Seattle to Washington Monument, I believe.
That's awesome.
And they use as many of the nation's bikeways as they can.
Yep. Looks like they're going to use quite a few through Ohio here.
And that means they're coming right through Dayton, Ohio.
Yes. That'd be awesome.
I've been talking with the leader about their routing. I don't know why they picked that particular routing. I thought it was a lot better, but it doesn't matter. They'll be through the Dayton area, and hopefully we'll be able to spot and talk to some of them.
Definitely.
And hopefully this features the idea of the developing of the bikeways, and goodness knows, maybe someday in some lifetime beyond me, we'll have a bikeway coast to coast.
That would be awesome.
Got a lot now.
Definitely.
So that'll be next week.
Okay.
Well, I guess we're done with the news.
I think so. I don't have anything else tonight. I think we should get to our guest tonight, don't you?
We're tired of looking at us.
There you go. Exactly. There's
Hi,
Vanessa.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Where do you hang your hat, Vanessa? Where do you live?
Oh, East Texas.
East Texas.
Yeah. So just north of Tyler, about 2 hours from Dallas.
Nice. Yeah. I've been to Dallas, but that's about the only place in Texas.
Vanessa's claim for being with us, I'm going to move her up, Jim.
Okay.
Vanessa's claim for being with us is that she was the female winner of the Florida 500, which was back in, November, was it, Vanessa?
February, yes. Yeah.
Tell me about the Florida 500, Vanessa. What kind of a race is it?
So it was about 536 miles from Jacksonville, Florida, down to Key West.
Mhm.
I think the majority of it was on the Route 1A down the coastline. So it was pretty interesting.
You were inside the ocean a good bit of the way.
Yeah, during the day you could see it. At night you just knew it was there. So
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah. Overall, how was your feeling of the race? Was this the first time you've done the Florida 500, or is this an ongoing thing with you?
So it's the first time I've been out to Florida to do a
Okay.
ride. It's the first time I've done that distance.
Wow, excellent.
I was really impressed with the road systems in
Mm-hmm.
Florida, how clean everything was.
Yeah.
We had bike lanes for the majority of the event. There was very little trash and road obstructions. So it was really, really impressive and something that deserves a lot of praise in the state too. So
Excellent. Since this was your first of this distance, did you have any surprises doing this length of a race, or were you pretty much prepared?
so I never thought that the wind would blow against us. In my
Mhm.
brain, my calculations always went for a tailwind or no wind,
There
and
you
I
go.
never really calculated for a headwind. And this year's boasted a pretty brutal headwind for
Mhm.
the majority of the event. Um, so that kind of threw a wrench in my game plan. Ultimately, the goal was to finish within the time constraints and, to make sure that I didn't burn a trip out there and not accomplish a goal of completing that distance. So,
That is awesome. Up to this race, what was your longest ride you'd done?
270 miles,
Wow, so you basically doubled it.
pretty close. Yeah,
That's awesome.
And remind me, where you did have a crew, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, my mother and my long-term boyfriend.
Nice.
Yeah. They thought it was a lot of time to be in the car, so I was working pretty hard on them.
There
so,
you go.
Yeah.
How did you handle your food and all that? Did you have a plan, or did you just kind of wing it?
I did have a plan. I've actually been working pretty diligently on my nutrition for the last 12 months. I
Mhm.
switched to almost complete liquid because I can't chew very well, and
Mhm.
especially can't chew well when I'm on the bike. So I've been using a high carb drink,
Mhm.
and then I supplemented with protein drinks every 2 to 4 hours, just depending on the temperatures, and kept good. I had my crew keep track of my intake and make sure that I didn't fall behind
Mhm.
on what I anticipated to consume over so many hours. So they did pretty good
Excellent.
at that.
Did you take one bike or multiple bikes with you?
I took two
Mhm.
because I wasn't gonna be delayed by a mechanical issue or put
Mhm.
out because I wasn't prepared. I brought my Madone, which is what I
Mhm.
did most of the riding on. And then I had my backup bike, which is actually a cyclocross bike that I put slick tires on.
Oh wow.
Um, and I got on it and the keys for a couple of minutes. We had a lot of crosswinds on the bridges,
Yep.
and it doesn't get blown around as much. But
Mhm.
by the time I switched over to it, it's a different size bike, so I
Mhm.
just couldn't get a good cadence on it. And I went back to the Madone.
Gotcha.
Well, Vanessa, let's back up a step. Tell us about your background in ultracycling, how long you've been at it, how long you've been in cycling in general.
So I've been riding bikes for about 6 years, maybe 7. Originally, I wanted to do ultra running, and I was trying to get into distance running, but I had a pretty catastrophic injury. And after I had to have a surgical joint replacements, running was too tough,
Mhm.
like on the joints. So my boyfriend told me I should get on a road bike, and I went out and I got an old 1992 down tube shifter Diamondback
Oh wow.
and started pedaling. It was not without its drama. So getting my fingers caught in the wheels and getting frustrated because the bike weighed a whole lot, but it made strong legs. And then I just kind of gradually picked up from there, ended up on mountain bikes. I do a lot of mountain biking, not quite as much as I have in the past, but I try to stay on that as well. And I started on an old 90 model rigid 26-inch mountain bike too. So
Wow.
just moved my way up from older models to more modern bikes. And as I did that, I increased my distance, and I just find it more peaceful to be on the bike for a long time than to go do events that are packed and people are jamming elbows at each other. So, yeah.
Well, you don't get much jamming elbows on UltraCycling.
No, you don't. So that's really pleasant.
There you go, definitely.
You like being out there by yourself?
I don't mind. A lot of the time I know that I've got, like, when I do my training rides, I know that I try to stay where I'll have a sag in case there's an emergency or someone close by. So most of the time, I'll ride home from work. I work 50 miles from the house, so I'll carpool to work and bring my bike with me and then ride home after work. Or I try to avoid riding to work because I don't think my coworkers would be very fond of me. So, but yeah.
What races have you done before this one?
The first one I did was Bessie's Creek. That was a pretty big culture shock because we had no idea what to expect. And really what we found was a bunch of confused mountain bikers on road bikes. So the culture was pretty cool, and we felt like we fit into that. And from there, I did 24 hours in the canyon. There's Slicks and Knobbies division. The first year I did that, I took first place female, which was really cool because the woman who had been winning it for a lot of years. And I don't keep track of my laps in time trials, so I just wait till they announce the winners to see how I did. So it was pretty cool. I tried doing pace bend. It was very cold the year I did pace bend. And it wasn't a whole lot of fun because of the cold. So I ended up getting a low body temperature and having to spend a lot of time off the bike trying to warm myself back up.
Wow.
And then the year after that, I did another set of 24 hours in the canyon for Slicks and Knobbies. I've done that twice. Been registered for it 4 times, but COVID and bad weather sometimes makes canceled events. So
Yeah, and that got canceled one year, didn't it? 24 hours. They had flooding.
yeah, last year the canyon turned into a lake. So
not good biking there, huh?
They did not want us down in it. So and I don't blame them. So it was a really good call that they made that.
It's not a good place to be when it's raining hard.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eric for posting greetings from Oklahoma.
Hey,
that's
your home state, Jim.
There you go. That's where I was born. So
very good.
Yes.
Vanessa, when you said you've been 6 or 7 years, I've noticed a pattern. I think you have too, Jim. A lot of ultracyclists seem to move very quickly from getting into cycling right into moving into ultracycling. You seem to do that same thing, didn't you, Vanessa?
Pretty much, yeah. So
why did you pick ultracycling? I mean, what ran through your head that goes, I want to go out and ride 500 miles?
Really, I just like how the maps look. Like, they feel very satisfying when you're finished with a big ride, especially if it's a point-to-point. Because it's just, you can look back at it and you're like, I did that, and I did that in one setting, or maybe broke it up into settings depending on, what the plan was. And it just feels very productive. And then none of the people around you understand what you're doing. So even if they have similar hobbies, they don't understand why I wanted to ride 500 miles instead of 50, which all of my coworkers, 2 miles is a lot for them. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do things that are hard and people don't want to do because they seem impossible.
There you go. Excellent.
Um, did you take any rest breaks at all during the 500 miles?
I did. Probably a little bit too much time when I go back and reflect on the time that I didn't spend moving. There was some rain during the first night, and I really didn't want to have to like change out my gear, and I didn't know how heavy the rain was going to be, so I took that as an opportunity to rest.
Mm-hmm.
I still got drenched, but when I got back on the bike, everything was wet, so I should have just ridden. And then I took a small break before crossing into the Keys because there was a lot of sun exposure and I messed up my sunblock. So I got a little bit overheated from some sunburn and took a couple extra minutes to just kind of cool my skin down before I went into the Keys.
Gotcha.
Vanessa, what's next?
24 hours in the canyon.
Excellent.
And let's look ahead a little bit beyond that. In the years ahead, what do you see yourself doing in UltraCycling?
So I really want to go out and do the Great Himalayan Ultra.
Wow.
Of course, that's going to take some extra training because I definitely don't want to go out to India and not be successful. And then I don't have any idea what to expect once I'm out there anyway. So I'd like to do that in the next 2 to 5 years. And then I have a goal to do Ram Solo in 2027.
We'll see you there.
Which is the last year that my kids will all be kids. So we'll celebrate them becoming adults by letting them crew for me. So.
Gotcha. Look who we have. We've got Joanna.
Joanna just showed up. Hi, Joanna.
Hey guys, I just wanted to jump on and say hi and how awesome an interview it is today. I'm so sorry I was a bit tied up with some things in my workday here. But hi, how are you?
We're doing well. Vanessa, this is Joanna. She's in New Zealand. She's our New Zealand reporter and also our host whenever we can trap her down. It's Monday noon there, isn't it, Joanna?
It is.
And a very accomplished ultracyclist too.
How many days till you head for Australia?
Experience though, but yeah.
How many days till you go to Australia?
Just a week now.
Just 1 week. If you've got a moment, we get off the air. Let's talk a bit about that, okay?
Let's hear more about Vanessa though.
Yes. What questions do you have for Vanessa?
Look, I'm just quite keen to take any tricks, tips, and advice from somebody who's experienced. So, Vanessa, how's your prep going, and how's everything coming together?
It seems like it's going pretty well. I'm making some adjustments to things. Trying to focus more on heart rate training, which is frustrating because we have hills, and it's really hard to stay consistent. And then I still focus on, but I use a body core temperature now when I do my rides, which has been very helpful in the last year since I started using that, because I know when I need to back off during the summer months to get my body temperature cool. And then I don't like the cold very much, so I typically avoid riding outside when it's too cold. So I haven't had a need to really monitor low body temps since I've had it.
Have you been finding that's really helpful, getting some, what's the word, maybe levels, should I call it, before you go out and you work efforts? Is it kind of helpful to have those baseline levels and then know what you can operate optimally within? It's not something I've ever done.
Yeah, so you can notice patterns with the body temperature monitor. So one interesting pattern is that I can perform pretty well up to about a body temperature of 102.3. Right. But once I start to get into 102.4 and 0.5, it really starts to go downhill very quickly. So that, we're still working some kinks to have it set with the Garmin, so that way my Garmin can alert me during a long ride. that, hey, your body temperature is here. Start making sure you're doing your cooling. Get some ice or spray some water. So that's been really helpful to learn that pattern for me. And some research shows that some riders with sufficient heat training can actually operate at higher temperatures, like 103, sometimes up a little higher than that. So it's been really interesting.
That's great. I think this is the first person I've heard talk about body temperature monitoring on rides. I know we've had glucose and all that stuff. What made you try that?
Pace bend.
Okay.
I spent too much time trying to get warm. Pretty sure that I had, some longer term effects from that event. I think the weather forecast a week before that event for Pace Bend called for 60, 70 degrees, and we had snow and ice on the ground when the event started. So with the wind chill, it was below 20 degrees, and it was a pretty brutal event that year. It was actually the last year they did it. I don't think they've had it since then. So, and then I turned around and I went and did a summer event and did just the opposite. Got way too hot. Had some heat stroke. I had a medic chasing me down trying to get me to take the IV, and I was like, literally, that's the only way I could get a DNF on this event is if I take your IV. I'll go take a nap and I'll be okay. But, I lost time trying to recover doing that too. So I decided it was time to really try to monitor my body temperature because it affects me so much. And
well, a couple of things, Joanna has had some experience with that, going from New Zealand in wintertime to Paris in summertime. You had to deal with a kind of a real shift in body temperature, didn't you?
That's why I've been so fussy just hearing how you explain it, because it's a thing we always have here in the Southern Hemisphere. It's kind of one of the disadvantages we have, and I know you guys have different ones, but we're always traveling from our winter into your summer when we come to compete in Australia or Europe. And obviously even in Australia, it's very, very cold in winter at night in particular. So we historically, as the Southern Hemisphere nations, do struggle with the heat. So I'm really fascinated to hear how you find that going forward. I'll be interested to hear a bit more about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting technology. So,
is it a strap-on body thing, or do you take a pill for the core temp?
It's just it's kind of like your heart rate monitor. I can clip it onto my heart rate strap. You can clip it onto like a bra strap if
Interesting.
Okay. You have to be kind of careful with it if you're removing it constantly from different size straps because it is delicate. So, it can be prone to the clip breaking.
Wow.
Other than that, though, you can wear it. When you get them, they have like med tape. So if you want to wear them long term, you can do that and keep them on during the night to monitor your body temperature, just like at resting and get a good pattern and a good data field. It lasts about 5 days.
Use it, Vanessa? What sort of with your heart rate monitor and your temperature? I'm just fascinated because it's not something we've had spoken about before.
Right.
Do they use that as preventative, or is it more of a reactive? How do they use that data? Do they get it in real time? Do they amend things for you, predicting what may happen? Like, how is it useful when you're doing an event?
So we're still working on some kinks because last year, a lot of the events that I had intended to do to get worked on ended up either getting canceled for weather or canceled for low registration or traffic flow patterns have changed. So there are various issues. And a lot of there was only one event. No, I actually didn't have any events where I had a crew to even need to use it.
Okay.
So I kind of monitored it on my own independently because I haven't figured out I'm not very good with technology. So, I noticed the patterns because I'm pretty in tune with how I'm feeling. So as I noticed the patterns, I kind of realized, hey, this is a symptom of your body temperature is increasing or decreasing. Check what your monitor is saying, and then you can respond to it. Ideally, you haven't hit a peak where you're going to start crashing or enter into heat stroke or or
Now, I'm going
hypothermia.
to interrupt us here and say to people watching out there, if you've got comments or questions, and I think maybe we stirred up some questions on this body temperature thing, um, get them in now.
Yeah.
It happens every show. We go off the air. There's a delay between the time you post a question
There you
and it
go.
shows up here. So every show we go off the air, and here comes some comments. So get them in now.
There you go.
God, don't wait. Don't be shy. Get them on out here, and we're glad to hear what you've got to say.
Yep. I'm definitely going to look into the temperature thing. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm really
I've been
grateful to
really
you
happy
for
with it.
sharing, because we've never had that raised before.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've learned so much on the show, right? We
Yeah,
learned
definitely.
so much from people. And thank you for bringing something really different to our minds. That's
Yes.
something I'm going to be looking at.
You just never know what's going to happen on UltraCycling magazine.
So there you go.
True thing.
Excellent.
Just turn around and up pops Joanna, and who knows?
Well, excellent.
Well, I do need to say though, well, shoot, don't want me, but in a week's time, Joanna's going to be in Darwin, Australia, to head for Melbourne. How far is it, Joanna?
4,608 kilometers. So what's that, about 3,000 miles?
Yep.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, rough being a key word, I guess, because it's going to be very deserted where you're going. But we'll talk about how we're going to handle that. So
Excellent.
Carry on with your whatever I interrupted before, though, because yeah, I want to hear more about where Vanessa's at.
Yeah,
what she's
okay.
up to.
you just can't get away without us mentioning that.
So what have you got coming up next, Vanessa? I'm probably rehashing now what they talked about, but what's your next big challenge that you're taking on?
So my goal is to try to set a course record at 24 hours in the canyon in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
I do the Slicks and Knobbies event, which is road and mountain bike. So I'll switch over to the mountain bike after the first lap is done on the road, which is 100 miles. That's the goal. It's been the goal the last 2 times I've done that event. And I've been consistent the last 2 years, so, and haven't set it, but I think I've made some good changes and progress over the last year to be able to actually obtain that goal. So, and
I love a bodacious goal, though, Vanessa. Don't you think if you don't set the bar high enough, you're always going to underachieve? Like, I think that's absolutely fabulous that you've set yourself to go back and try and do that again. Can you explain to me a little bit more about this lap change of bikes, though? Because that sounds gnarly. What's this all about?
Yeah, so the event is out in the Panhandle of Texas, which holds the second largest canyon system in the country. And the majority of the event is actually down in the canyon on the mountain bike trails. But it's evidently the only simultaneous road and mountain bike UltraCycling event that's held. So they do have up to a 24-hour road category where the road riders will ride on the state park roads. They have I think it's a 6-mile loop. Depending on what time frame they're doing, is if they'll go out of the canyon up onto the plains to do a big 100-mile loop. Mountain bikers have a 7.5-mile lap on the trail completely. And then if you do their mountain bike road event, which they call Slicks and Knobbies, you start on your road bike, you climb out of the canyon, and you do 100 miles up on the plains. Then you come back in, and all of your remaining time is on the mountain bike trail.
Wow, excellent.
So.
Now, how do you train for riding both kinds of bikes in different environments? Do you go out and ride your road bike, then jump on your mountain bike and ride for a while, or do you do them totally separate?
Most of the time I do them separate. If I have the time availability to do like a smaller ride where I can dedicate maybe 6 hours on the road bike and then another 6 hours on the mountain bike, I will do it. I have kids and work, and so I don't always have that time. So most of the time I'll spend a day. I try to do one big mountain bike ride and one big road ride a month, just to keep up my saddle time and my comfort. And then most of the rest of the rides are shorter intervals.
back to the temperature monitor. Eric is asking, do you have a brand that you can mention of what kind you're using?
Yeah, so it's called Core, Core, and they're a Swedish company.
Mm-hmm.
I
Excellent.
I don't know if there are any other ones. I looked into them for several months before finally deciding that, it's probably worth the expense of investing in that, because an ER visit for heat stroke would cost the same or more. So
Definitely. And James Hildebrand says corebodytemp.com also. So thank you.
That's my boyfriend.
Yep.
He's
Okay.
not home, so
Excellent.
yeah.
That's your long-term boyfriend, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
my
yes.
long-term boyfriend. So
You don't have a
he's
short
usually
term,
my
right?
crew chief. So
Good, good.
Excellent.
Hey Vanessa, can I ask what it's very different riding a mountain bike to riding a road bike in terms of the physicality that you're putting out, because often I'm assuming if you're on a mountain bike it's because the terrain is very challenging. What do you find is it must be quite difficult swapping over kind of a nutritional needs from the perspective that I guess I'm thinking intensity level. When you're on the road bike, if you're on flat, you're going to be more able to keep a consistent pace. And therefore energy expenditure. But when you're on the mountain bike, do you find you have to change your nutrition quite a lot to allow for that intensity? How do you manage that?
So my nutrition is generally about the same for the most part. What I have a more difficult time on the mountain bike is actually keeping up with my nutrition. It's not as convenient. So
A lot more demanding
yeah,
attention-wise, yes.
you have the time when you're gonna try and grab a bottle because you want to be able to get it back on your cage. And I carry less on my mountain bike than I do when I'm on the road bike, because it's more challenging and the terrain is rougher.
So do you have to, is your approach to nutrition that you sort of preload more, or is it more of a reactive model? How do you try and manage that to keep you as nutritionally balanced as you can throughout the whole event?
So I've worked on my nutrition. I try to just make sure that my nutrition is on point at the very least a few weeks before the event. Generally a couple days within an event, depending on what the temperatures are looking like, is if I do any pre-hydration, like with a high sodium mixture. At the start of an event, again, it's pretty dependent on how the temperature is looking. If it's cooler, I don't always pre-hydrate. And then I make sure mostly throughout the entire event that I consume between 16 and 24 ounces of fluid, depending again on the temperature. For me, I don't really eat solids when I'm riding. I can't chew, so I do mostly liquids. And I found a product that for the most part has been working really well for me. And I interchange it with some supplemental protein every couple of hours. So.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for being with us. We appreciate that. It's always good to introduce a new face, a new writer to all of us here.
Definitely.
To us, I think most people. We wish you well. We will looking forward. Hopefully, we're going to have a reporter at 24 Hour in the Canyon, Vanessa. We'll try to have them on the lookout for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And
goodness me, Vanessa, I'd just like to wish you all the very best, because truly it sounds absolutely challenging. And I'm really fascinated by somebody who is brave enough and strong enough and adaptable enough to take on something with so many variables. I'm just sorry I got to the interview late to hear all of it. I'll have to hear it back. But all the very, very best of luck to me, because I'm in awe of you. I think that's just a fantastic challenge to take on.
Well, Joanna, this you coming in late will be reflected in your paycheck.
Oh, okay, good. I owe you now. Okay.
There you go. That's why I said earlier, for me being gone, I know. Lee's going to be rich.
Jim already owes me.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. Back to Vanessa. Thank you. Thank you so
for
much.
having me.
Yes.
Stay in touch. Keep us informed of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you have an exciting career in this ahead of you, and we'd like to really do all we can to encourage you. And we'll be trying to look forward to you at 24 Hour and the other events that are coming up.
Yep, and 2027 in Ram, definitely.
And we'll be looking forward to following Joanna. I do have just one thing I want to interrupt with. We do have a studio audience here. My son and his wife Marilyn, Scott and Marilyn from California. They're both runners. Scott, he's done what they call it, the Big Five or whatever around the world, and we're just happy to have him here visiting
Yes,
for a
definitely.
little while. I don't think they expected to be on, maybe, I don't know. But there they are. So we're glad to
Well,
have
welcome. Yes.
Yeah, everybody, they're ultra people that they ride bikes too. You
Yeah.
know, running's a big thing.
Definitely.
And thank all of you for watching. Thank all of you
Yes.
for who commented.
Definitely.
And ladies, don't go away after we go off there. We'll chat, download, or a little bit, download here.
There you go. And let me see if I can find Greg to get us out of here.
Yeah, Greg, thank you.
This is Gregory Zuber, thanking you for watching and sharing.
Music by Kevin McLeod.